Do you think going to hi-fi schools and everything makes you very, very well educated? Do you think getting into great universities actually gives you great education? Or probably, let me just look around everyone, learn from our friends group or colleagues and then understand what right and quality education is. So for people who think that what education is probably going to great schools or universities might fetch you great degree, but can it actually give you the knowledge to behave with everyone around you? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you a couple of signs or qualities that actually show you that you're poorly educated. Education does not mean what you're taught in school or colleges. It actually means what you have learned by being around all of those people. Continue watching this video. I'm Vasha Kumar. Welcome to the Freedom Business English channel. Do not forget to subscribe and download our Freedom app. Talking about the part where we should be educated enough to treat everyone equally is where an entrepreneur wins in all of this. You can only be a true leader if you are equally good as you think you are. You don't have to actually outmatch anyone who is way, way better than you. All that you have to outmatch is who you are, who you were in the past and who you are to now. So that is what actually shows you which quality of yours is actually being as a great leader and which quality shows that you're the perfect entrepreneur. I'm not saying perfect has to be the way you look or way you behave or how elite you are. That doesn't define perfect. Perfect is the way you treat people, communicate people and how you encourage each and everyone around you. What are the signs that actually show you that you're poorly educated in all of these? First thing is that criticizing everyone. You are poorly educated when you actually do not appreciate or encourage people when they do right or at least somewhere to the work which you have expected. Probably not everyone will be able to reach the target or probably not everyone will be able to make it till what they have. You have to learn to encourage them or motivate them towards doing it rather than criticizing them and telling them you are not fit for it. Something that most of them do not like to listen is that you are not worth it. Nobody likes to listen that they are not worth it. You can replace it by telling that you can do it, because sometimes you can do it can mean so many things and so many of the employees right now need it, because everyone in each step of their life feel that they need someone who can hold their hand and go, because they're not expecting you to spoon feed them every time in their life. They just want to be encouraged and motivated, and when they do that best job that you expect, they have to be even given credits for that. There is where you have to win as an entrepreneur, and when you don't do all of this and just keep criticizing them for something which can actually be solved, that actually makes you someone who's not good at what he or she is doing. Next thing that we see is that people speak first and then think later. Most of the time we would have come across a situation where people just randomly gush things out when it comes to anger. If they keep on doing this often, people will not believe the words you actually try to convey, because saying something out of anger shows how poorly educated you are. Because sometimes you have to make sure that are you doing things right before you go and comment on somebody else. Are you the right person who thinks that okay, if I say something, my words have to have that weightage? People actually prioritize and look up when it comes to a business owner or an entrepreneur itself. And when you say something, that might actually hurt a lot of people out there. That's where most of them fail, because at the anger and at the heat of the moment, they just say what they have to and think later that they shouldn't have. Guilt is something that keeps on striking us over and over, because we do not realize why guilt is the worst thing that can make a person even go to depression. There is where you have to make sure that guilt is something you shouldn't have. Telling something out very easily is not a great job. Even when it comes to ideas, keeping anger aside, thinking about the ideas, you can't just randomly tell out some ideas without even having a proper research about it or think about it or talk about it with other people, get the right idea, advice and then go about with it. There is where you make the mistake of thinking what is right and what is wrong. Make sure whatever you're trying to convey or tell is done in the right way, so that everyone who follows you at least has the trust that whatever he or she speaks has that weightage and we have to follow, rather than them thinking what rubbish is this. Next one is easily manipulated. We all know that empty mind is a devil's workshop. That's where we have to think that We cannot be easily manipulated. If you're easily manipulated in each and every situation, let me tell you this, you're a very weak-minded person, because you cannot let somebody else control you. When it comes to business, 100 people will have different opinions. You cannot depend on each of their opinions. Someone might come and say that do this, this might actually help you. Other might come and say that don't do that, this might actually be a backfiring step that you might be taking. Someone might come and tell that, you know what, don't consider both of their ideas, do this, do that. Have your own opinion, have your own judgment, because you are the one who started this business. Nobody can think better than you. Probably they can be advisors that act as a brick to the entire building, but that cannot only be the sole purpose you have created this infrastructure with. Remember that as an entrepreneur, having a weak mind is the most horrible thing that can happen to you, because this is not the way you run a business. You have to have a strong, determined mind so that you can come across any obstacles by your own decision rather than depending on everyone around you. And if you get easily manipulated, you can actually end up destroying your whole business, because you never know what is the advice that one might take in which should not be taken, and leave out the best ones. Always remember that trust goes side by side with the loyalty as well, and if you get manipulated by the people whom you never trust, that might actually end up hitting your business in the wrong way. Next one is, people don't learn from their own mistakes. Sometimes we take time in analyzing what is our mistakes and what can be done right for it, rather than thinking that whatever we're doing might go wrong somewhere or might not go wrong somewhere. This is where you have to understand that making mistakes, analyzing them, and then going forward with it is the way you have to take forward if you're a business owner. Because when it comes to business itself, there are so many risks around you, and there are times that you commit mistakes and you go around thinking that, am I doing this right and am I doing this wrong? Sometimes you doubt yourself also. But this has to change, because if you don't learn from your mistakes, you will keep repeating them over and over, and that can act like a bigger hit to you over and over. And you will not even see that you are making a mistake that is actually backfiring you over time, and then you are the sole cause of entire thing. There is where you have to notice that learning from your mistake has to be the most biggest key lesson, so that you don't repeat this over and over again. Most of the entrepreneurs fail to do that is only because they do not tend to learn from their own mistakes. So make sure that when it comes to learning from your own mistakes, you have to take all the key learnings that you happen to attempt the mistake in the first place, and then how did you resolve it? That is how you have to keep learning and moving forward, because that is where you're going to learn the most important thing called as acceptance, and that is most important for the healthy running of the business itself. Talk more, listen less. Start working. Make sure whatever you do and start putting them into action. You start talking more. You start telling what you want. Start communicating what is your basic idea and what are the things that everyone should follow, rather than taking advice and listening to others over and over. There is a processing and buffer period for you where you have to take in advice of everyone, understand what you have to need, and you can shortlist the things that you want as an advice for your company and yourself and go about with it. But if you don't do this, this might actually affect you in the long run, because sometimes what we don't see is that there are very, very minute things in our life that we miss out on. And there is where we start talking more, because we ourselves wouldn't have understood what is the main cause and why are we even doing this, rather than just trying to communicate to our employees that we want this to be done, we want that to be done. But over time, we have to talk less and listen to why our employees are coming and telling us so and so things, and what is the problem which is happening, and what are the risks that we have to encounter over time. So when you start listening, you're going to see the brighter side of the problem, and over time you will start implementing your plan to resolve this entire problem. Next thing is the blame game. This is the most commonly seen thing that we go around everywhere, from the management till the entrepreneurs. We always have seen that very less people accept that they have done it wrong. What happens is that we can see that culture and nature where they just happen to put down one of the mistakes that they did, and rather than accepting that, sorry guys, because of me this happened, they would just end up telling that you did not do this right, I pushed you towards that, and that is where you guys did not do it. Remember what your mistake was. Remember that you were the sole cause of it because you started it. And if there is something wrong done by you, learn learn to accept it, because there is where your reputation or your character as an individual eventually go high, because not everyone can understand why a person is doing this and not everyone can read your mind. Make sure there is less blame game and you start accepting and telling that if the mistake was done by you, it was done by you, rather than starting and putting it on each and every employees, because they will not know what to respond, and this can actually create a toxic work culture rather than a diverse work culture. So if you think all these points were something really useful, and if you think that there are a couple of situations where you would have encountered or faced such points, there is always time to rebuild yourself and reconstruct it, because every day is a new day and every day you can start learning something new and avoid the wrong things that actually affect us. If you also found this video very helpful, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Also download our Freedom app, because it's got way more than 800 courses that can teach you about business, finance as well as organic farming. All of these three have been taught by the live mentors who have actually acted as an example for you, and those people have actually told about their experiences. You can take them as your examples because they have done it all the way from scratch. And even if it comes to farming, you can also learn from the farmers and people who have actually built their farm itself. That can provide you with so much knowledge. And that's a wrap on this video. Thank you so much. Get wise and break free.